Okay, we're rolling.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well. This is the second meeting of the Finance Committee. I've asked for this night just for me because in the other meetings I attend, I can hardly hear. But I'm not going to pass it around through the virus, but I leave it up to you if you want to speak to take your mask off. I also want to take a moment before we start this meeting to give kudos to other members of UCO who have basically extended themselves and in some cases taken their life in their hands by being at UCO despite the virus and standing at the door. And I personally didn't do it, but I've been there lately, not at the beginning, but again, we're only a few people here and unfortunately only 2 of the officers, so this is not just meant for them, it's meant for everybody who's viewing. I do want to mention, not to leave anybody out, that Bob Rivera has been very helpful in one of the projects that I have ongoing, because when I got here I noticed that it's been 10 years or so since anybody has taken an inventory of UCO's assets. Bob has conducted an extensive examination. I also got an extensive list from Steve Henn, who is the IT guy. Unfortunately, at this moment, none of them are priced out, but it is the last item, so you know, that our new auditor has to finish up his audit. He's well along. And taking him aboard, we've got a lot of new information that we didn't have before. And one of the things that came to light, which is the first topic on my agenda, is that there was an error with regard to the insurance that UCO took in 2020. The extent of that error was in the neighborhood of $250,000. When it was discovered, instructions were given to Legacy Insurance to cancel those policies. Tony gave me a report, and she expects that we could collect about $66,000 on the $250,000. Unfortunately, because the way the policies were written, we will have an additional expense, and that is Legacy wrote the policies with a schedule of unit owners, and they only included those unit owners that were insured by Legacy. We did a quick calculation, it has to be revised now, that it could possibly be $500 per unit owner who contributed to insurance which they were not covered. I got a schedule just this morning from Tony as to what unit owners were covered and what unit owners weren't. We have to then compare that to all the unit owners and calculate what it will cost us and put it into this year's, that's 2021, cost of insurance, while it applies to last year. I could tell you this, I should turn this off. I could tell you this, that at this point, at this point, I have an estimate from Mike of Brown & Brown, I think his last name is Zager. Mike Zager is the Volga, is the operating officer of Brown & Brown, who will be handling this account. He prepared a schedule for us which came out to about $93,000, which was very close to what it cost us at Legacy last year, excluding the 2 policies in environmental and the legal. So at this moment in time, we can't really put a hard number in until we have finished the calculation of who is getting the refund and what the exact amount they're going to get, and they will be notified. In addition to just taking the inventory of the assets, so far we've only taken the electronics, we haven't taken everything else. And there, my kudos go to a former treasurer who's no longer with us, Dorothy Tetro, who did a great job. She even inventoried the supplies, everything. And it's important because our job is to protect the assets of the corporation as well as doing a budget. If you look at the agenda, the last item on the agenda is scheduling another meeting. We're not going to finish today by far. And one of the reasons we're not going to finish, I started to, in essence, correct the entries in our books of account to this extent. Up until now, you're being presented a budget that says repairs and maintenance, landscape, etc. That's not sufficient to do a good budget. So I've started, and you will see it today, to analyze every account as to what we paid for in landscaping and who we paid it to, what we paid for in repairs and maintenance, and who we paid it to, so that we can prepare a budget more in line with what has been done in the past, and it's not been done just about everybody. You were handed 2 sheets. This is a large sheet, and you'll see it says preliminary budget. And it was. With the help of Chris here, everybody knows Chris Shepard, he's been here so long he's going to collect Social Security soon. We worked on what has been traditional. And at that point, it was earlier this year, we took 6 months and interpolated to get to 12 months. Having gone further, I redid that, and that's on these green sheets, using the same formula, except taking 8 months and adding a third, because 8 months is 2/3 and a third makes the whole year. However, that's still not correct. I asked Donald Foster, our CAM, who's very much into this part of what we're talking about, to attend. He said he couldn't make it because repairs and maintenance and landscape is definitely his bailiwick. I spent some time with Donald, and I made some adjustments. If you notice, the first item after talking about the insurance is we're going to cover today the method and how it's been covered in the past for setting up UCO's reserves. Now, each one of you should have gotten 2 documents. One is the reserve page from every audited report from 2012 up to 2019. And I say that with one caveat. We only have an audited report up to 2018. The 2019 results should be in shortly. We owe the auditor, who's now up to date, and I visited him just last week, accompanied by Barbara Cornish, very, very astute new accountant. One of his accounts is similar to us. It's Kings Point, but not the one here, the other Kings Point. So we have someone who's done this before, and as I mentioned earlier, I got to him because Kim Judah, who resigned, recommended him and is in the same exact building as he is, and so he was able to have great cooperation with getting the prior payments. However, just to make a note, that being the case when I reviewed it with him last week, there was some other changes which will ultimately affect us. And one is approximately writing off an asset called prepaid expenses for $500,000. And the reason it was written off, because it's really not a true prepaid expense. We will never get the money back that was reserved for. So it really had no value. And that's being written off as a prior period adjustment. And if you notice, in the prior report, we had a $330,000 prior period adjustment. I copied the sheet that shows the allocation and expense of the reserves from 2012 to 2019 and 20. There's a comment on every one of those sheets that you should look at. Every one of our audit reports shows that the auditor has taken exception to the numbers that we provided because they were provided by UCO without the benefit of outside experts. In that regard, I contacted many experts, but in this regard, for other items, I contacted Federal Engineering, who was the engineer in 2016, which rendered UCO a report. And we walked the village, and his report isn't in yet. The other report was given to us by an irrigation company. And interestingly enough, I'm waiting for it. I spoke to them this past week. Everybody's behind because of the virus. But the gentleman who owns the company has an intricate knowledge of Century Village. And that is only because for 20 years prior to going into his own business, he was the president of Seacrest. So he knows every inch of this property, and he's sending me a recommendation. What he also told me, and this is an integral part of my thinking, and I'm imparting it to you, that another Century Village 3 or 4 years ago also was expending money, as we are, on repairing the irrigation system. The cost to replace their air conditioning system was $8.5 million. On our books, we have $7 million for reserves, and we're putting away about $500,000 a year, plus the amount we're expending to patch it up. He maintains that after they did the repair, the savings on utilities amounted to about $150,000 a year. No, so to let you know, they didn't have $8.5 million. What they did is they financed it with Wells Fargo Bank at a time that interest was much greater than it is today. And that $8.5 million, and they have several hundred more residents than we do, wound up costing them, each unit owner, $5 a month, $60 a year. They have a brand new system. It eliminates the repairs. It saves utilities. He maintains to $150,000 a year, and they're happy with it. It's guaranteed. It took them 3 years to complete the project. I also looked at the same thing for our roads, which were done in 2010 to 2012. And one of the reasons I handed out all those years' reserves, you're talking to someone who knows full well that after we did the roads between 2010 and 2012, our reserves were down to $35,000. And if you also look at this analysis, in 2013, those people who were in UCO said, we're not going to take this chance again, because what happened is the then treasurer, who many of you know, Ed Black, just emptied everybody's pockets, every reserve item. So in 2013, UCO elected to have designated reserves. which for those who are not aware, designated reserve says if it's for roads, it's got to be for roads. If it's for tennis courts, it's got to be for tennis courts. However, if something extraneous comes up, you can go back to the delegates and get the money. In 2014, they rethought it because I was asked, how come we don't have designated reserves anymore? Well, if you look at the documentation in 2014, maybe those in charge changed and they reversed it to pooling reserves. Now, we have pooling reserves, and not to think that everybody doesn't know it, but I like to cover the bases. Pooling reserves is if you could have it for taking George Lowenstein out for dinner, you can't take his money away and do something else. Now, we've been given those kind of reports which itemize every single item in the reserve. That is shadow accounting. It means zero. In fact, the current accountant is loath to break it down because it's pool. Pool means no matter what you put on it, it could be used for anything. Both have something to say and something to do. There's no doubt that we have to have adequate reserves. I attended my second budget meeting with WPRF yesterday. And I have to say, copying is a greatest form of flattery. Monica Wells, who is the chief accountant, vice president of accounting, prepares a wonderful budget. In fact, it's so good that I asked her for her budget worksheets, which are automated, and which she sent to me. Unfortunately, it's not automated for us. I think she did a wonderful job. I think the whole group did a wonderful job. And they had a couple of major advances. Number one, they have a much better accounting system. It was written for them. Number two, Dan, who many of you know better than I, who was the CAM for WPRF, was there to answer questions in regard to his responsibility. I'm repeating, I asked Donald Foster to please come because I felt if there were salient questions, it would be better for him to answer it rather than me to relate it to you. He said he couldn't make it. I had the meeting and we'll go through that. In addition, I was informed by David Israel that we're under the gun to complete the budget. Now, my remark is very simple. If we wanted to complete the budget as it's done before, we could finish it in an hour. Take everything, minus it by 10%, and we'll be in the ballpark because the last 6 years, the budgets were within 10% of the actual expense, not the same category. However, I think we could do better, and we'll know that soon, by going through what we do have now, and as we go further, those accounts will be analyzed. I couldn't go backwards to analyze 2019. It took forever to go down to do 2020. And basically, what I did prepare, you got two sheets. You got this huge sheet here, because I, for one, when I'm looking at the numbers, whether ours in the past or WPRF, have a hard time reading it. I feel we should all, whether we have 20/20 or better vision, have the opportunity to look at every line item and see it without squinting. I also then took Monica's, which is excellent. I couldn't expand it that much, but we're covering only a limited amount today. Going forward, I will have this sheet adjusted. It has to be done by someone who is really knowledgeable in Excel, because it's geared to her. Every time she puts a number in, it gets allocated to the right account. I also, so you know, when I prepared these numbers, one of the things is that we had charged in several accounts Amazon. Now, Amazon, it covers a multiple of things. You know, there's a new Rolls-Royce dealer that opened up on Okeechobee, and it's called Amazon Rolls-Royce. So every month I've been putting in $50 and calling it Rolls-Royce. Hopefully in 20 years I'll have it. You know, there's always a way. What I have here is 8 months analysis, 111 entries to Amazon. Okay? I spoke to Donald, that has to be improved, because Chris, who's doing the bookkeeping, is hard pressed for time as it is, and it takes a lot longer to analyze when you enter a disbursement. In fact, part of what I had to do, Donald insisted I break down landscaping even further, because I found out that Seacrest actually has 2 companies. One is the CAM, the other is a general contractor. And we want that separate for each one. As we go along, what I did is, on these green sheets, I first entered the 8 months, followed the same scenario, divided it by 2, which gave me 1 quarter, added that, we got 3 quarters. The results, by doing a half a year and doubling it, 3 quarters and 2/3 and 1/3, come out to different numbers. One of the other things, just to wind this up, I know is, which we're not going to do, because our position is different. On Monica's budget yesterday, we went through, I saw an item for $60, for $120. And the other thing, and I'm taking a lot of time, it took almost a half hour to resolve a $2,000 issue of whether we moved the library or not. I made a comment, we could be here forever if we're going to do that. So I think we're going to focus on the major stuff, and our objective is different than our objective when we review WPRF. I also, and that's where we're going to start, after I did this, if you go a few pages down, I restated the final result from 2/3 and 1/3, and we now have 2 restatements. One is the repairs and maintenance, and the other is the landscape maintenance. I would suggest we start with landscape maintenance because it's less items, but I could tell you this, when you put the 2 accounts together, we're talking over $400,000. So I feel it's not just the amount, it's the question whether we are throwing money away by repairing, or should we bite the bullet and replace? Now, we're almost going to be up to, if I'm not mistaken, $9.5 to $10 million in reserves. And my impetus is, in the days before me, and I'm sure in George's time when he handled it, when you had this lump of money, you got some interest. Right now, we don't even get a toaster. I mean, we have like $7 million in what they call a sweep account, and we're getting 0. It's a lot of extra work, it means nothing, and quite frankly, I'm checking, because if we're getting 0, we might as well buy a government instrument and not have all the work and be as liquid as you could be. Although I did give it out to Citibank to see if they're willing to do the same job in California. On the topic of interest, which was an income to us, in as much as we're getting nothing, I did some research, and currently, while banks are paying little or no interest, several banks have what they call a bonus for opening up a new account in various amounts. The most aggressive one is Citibank. I just opened up the accounts, and they have to be signed, that we will get 6% interest on $200,000 at Citibank for merely leaving it there for 2 months. Unfortunately, it's not 6% for the whole year, but 6% for 2 months is is better than nothing. There are many other banks that are giving anywhere from $400 to $700, and you don't have to put in. So a project is going to be to seek out those banks and just whatever interest we could earn. Having said all that, before I go further, anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you did all this investigation, did you contact, I don't even know if they're still in business, Bank United?
No, I didn't. I only contacted, when I went online, there's a service, and it listed the banks. Bank United is around the corner.
I'm very familiar with them because I knew the original people that put it together from New York. One of them was an account of the company I worked for. So I, years ago, obviously used them. I haven't in recent times, so I don't know what they're offering me. I just brought it up because I've had contact.
And I welcome anybody to do the research, and if you come up with another institution that will give us something, because something is better than nothing, all that's involved is paperwork. I would like to have more than one operating account. Right here in the neighborhood, we use BB&T only. I think there's 5, 6 banks that we can get. If we don't put it in a sweep account, you'll get some interest, even if it's 1 or 2%. So if you put 5 banks, you got $1.25 million earning some interest. And if the market changes, you change it. If you know someone at BB&T, be my guest. Anybody have any other contact?
Well, Chase, I keep getting ads from Chase.
Excuse me?
I keep getting ads from Chase. They're giving money away if you open an account there.
Well, you know what the cycle was, George. There was a time you opened the account, you got a toaster. A little further down the road, for a toaster, you could have bought a bank, up until the government bailed them out. Right now, the banks say they're not doing well, but in my opinion, they're doing terrific, because they're basically paying nothing for the money. And if they're charging 3 or 3.5%, they're paying a minimal amount for their money, although they're crying. We have to just be aware that we have this kitty, that we should be as efficient as possible on what we do. When I talked to the gentleman at the irrigation company, he said the raw material they use for an irrigation system is oil-based, and currently it's about 30% lower than when he did the job at the other Century Village. And I haven't had a chance to talk to the other Century Village. He says they're doing very good. I keep forgetting the name. It's not Pembroke Pines. What's the other one you're at?
Okay.
No, it's the one down the road there. Deerfield. Deerfield, very smart. They brought out Levy. No, just effective this year, 2020.
Oh, I thought it was.
No, 2020. But they opted to do it. I understand they have several hundred more residents than we do. I can tell you, in contacting a lot of this information, I contacted Pembroke Pines, and I spoke to the president of Pembroke Pines, who I was introduced to, and they're ahead of us in a lot of other areas. They don't operate under 617 and 718, and I don't want to get into that, but they just have a lot more facilities. The units are bigger, and their maintenance is about the same as ours. So now, again, does anybody have any questions? Any of you gentlemen have any questions?
No, can we get along with this?
Excuse me?
Can we get along with whatever we're gonna be doing on the budget?
Well,
You have an
right
office
now,
that there's
we
nobody
can
in
get- excuse me.
investigation and nobody
Right
working
now,
on it.
we can get along with what we got, and I'm well aware of your position, Fausto. I was gonna recommend no one to talk more than 10 minutes, but then we get turned down. So let's turn to that sheet, which has landscape maintenance.
What page?
I'm gonna give you the page in a minute. Several pages in. I need one of the big ones so I can see myself.
It's right in the middle, 7,400. That's great maintenance.
Hold on.
First sheet,
Can't hear you.
Let me get the big one.
the first sheet, right in the middle, landscape.
No, that's not the sheet.
Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the one that has just the numbers
Well,
that
this-
we're working with.
I didn't hear.
Do I not see it here?
Nope.
I don't
Nope.
see it.
I don't see it.
Not here. You don't see it? Nope.
So you made copies of the right thing?
Repairs and, let's start then with repairs and maintenance, which is on sheet 3.
Sheet three?
Yeah, page 3. And down at the bottom it
It's
says
near the bottom.
7605,
Number 41. Number 41?
41.
Oh, repairs and maintenance, okay, 41.
There's nothing in there.
No, there is.
You don't have that?
22,635.
Oh, that's office cleaning, it says.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's on the repairs and
It
maintenance.
probably has another copy then, again.
That's on the repairs and maintenance.
He doesn't have the same thing that we have.
You don't?
Here's another
Mixing
one,
up the
here's
numbers.
another one.
Nothing there. So why don't we-
Is this the green one?
There's no
Yes,
numbers.
yes.
It's page 3,
Page 3.
Yeah.
line 41.
Yeah.
Line
Okay.
41
It's
shows
blank.
zero.
Repairs and
Zero.
No, below it, it says
That's
office
the
cleaning.
account,
It's all
and
blank.
line 42 is office cleaning.
only.
But there's a repair and maintenance, there's a figure in there.
No, look on the top, 41, the account is repairs and maintenance.
I understand.
There's
And
nothing
anything
there.
underneath that becomes,
It's only office cleaning.
office cleaning is part of repairs and
Oh,
maintenance.
I see.
Oh. Okay. I didn't see it being maintenance.
Now, I can tell you this. In discussing this with Donald, office cleaning is really Glow. The company is Glow.
Glow, G-L-O-W?
Yes, the company is Glow, and in essence, they not only do the office cleaning, but they're on a weekly schedule of 24 hours a week. In essence, they're doing an hourly job for us. An hourly job for us, and that is a 24-hour a week, and that's what we pay them for. I just want to ask everybody, do you have a page 8?
Page 8.
Yeah, blank.
Yeah,
Blank,
yeah, blank.
blank.
It's blank, yes.
Your page 8 is blank.
Right.
Okay, we'll take care of that.
So what do they do? They empty the waste paper baskets every day? What do they do?
Oh, who? Just a
Glow.
second.
Hello.
Well, right now,
Hold on.
they're doing.
Not
they're
now,
doing-
not now,
Hold
that's
on.
special.
If we have questions, that's what we're here for. Let's do one at a time.
any other questions, I don't know.
All right. You will, let me just ask you to do this, see if I'll make this a copy.
They vacuum, they take out trash, all right, they wipe down.
Hold on. Could you-
All sorts of things.
And they do that daily?
We need this 24 hours a day?
No, 24 hours a week.
Oh, a week, oh,
24 hours a week.
okay, I'm
Do
sorry.
they also do the guard houses?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
that
the
should
guard
be in
houses.
here, that not only the office, but the guard houses.
Could you repeat that?
And the laundry
And the
room.
laundry.
Yes.
So it's more than just the office.
Right.
That's why he said it isn't office cleaning. In the general ledger, the account says office cleaning. And so that's what I put down. And that's why I asked Donald to go through it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we have a contract for this?
Yes.
With who? I mean,
With
do we have our own?
With Glum, yes.
Does
We
anybody
piggyback
know when
off-
it's due?
We piggyback off of WPRF. They're due at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Now, that's good news for me to know because I'd like to get a copy of that contract for the file.
It's on Z Drive.
Hmm?
It's on the
The
Z
Z
Drive.
drive. is
Maybe
a-
you can find it, he
Hold
can.
on. Let me, oh, don't go like this.
No, I'm talking to Barbara, I'm not talking
Let
to
me
you.
explain to you what happened. Up until this Saturday, David said, go to the Z drive, go to the Z drive. I tried everything. It
Okay.
didn't work. I said, David, there's something wrong with the Z drive. He says, it's you. I said, okay. Saturday, I met with Donald. He wanted to look something up. He said, he was at my desk. He says, let's get it from the Z drive. I said, Donald, you do it because I'm no good. I tried. He couldn't do it. He said, but I get it. So we walked over to Donald's office, and it came up like a flash. There is something wrong with the Z drive that I was assigned to, and I called Steve Henn, and he hasn't repaired it yet. It would be a big bang to me. The next item is a small item, trash removal. According to what Donald told me, that's in and around the office, the trash removal, and the number sounds right to him. Again, anybody want to comment, please comment, and if Fausto or David, you could add information, now's the time.
Other than that doesn't make any sense.
What doesn't make sense?
Trash removal, if you're paying Glow to come in and clean, they remove the trash. I think that $429 is for the container that's outside, that gets emptied every couple of months.
Well, that's a good input.
I'm just saying,
No, that could be the case, and if that's what it is, then we should check it. I'm not against anything. I mean, this is not etched in stone. It's the first draft of what we're trying to do. So you think this is from the container? So if it would be for the container, it would be from the garbage company, right? When we look
well, we
at-
paid for that container to sit there, and when it gets full, every couple of months, they come in, they take it out, and I don't remember what the fee was for that.
They replace it?
There's a dumping fee, yeah, they come in.
Is that to Glow, or is that like S&P?
No, that's,
County.
pro waste. Waste
Always.
Pro. Waste Pro.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is for 6 months, it's 429, am I correct?
no.
It's January, August, April.
Take off January to August from the top. Everything that you're looking at now is 12 months.
But there's no figure for 12 months.
Yes, it is. Go back here. Let's not forget. Go back to the first 2 pages. And,
It's very confusing to me, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna tell them.
okay, could you hand them out to the people? Thank you. Chris just did the wonderful thing. We got copies of it.
AJ, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
Thank you, Chris. Do us a favor, go into 7605,
All right,
look for trash removal.
all right.
Do we have who that was paid to?
That's Waste Pro Palm Beach.
What?
Waste Pro?
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
That's it.
2 points. David?
Chris, look and see if there's a separate charge for that dumpster.
Excuse me?
We can't hear you.
I think there's a separate charge for the prawn, for all the leaves and stuff that they pick up. That's a separate charge.
That's what that is.
I don't
That's
know,
it.
what's the monthly charge we get from waste for emptying our dumpster and the recycling?
Hold on 1 second.
There's two different
If
things.
you remember a gentleman by the name of Warner
I
Wolf,
don't know which one is which, but there are two different
Yeah.
items.
well,
One is-
we're here to find out, because if something could be improved, that's what we're here for. And as I say, for those of you who
One-
remember
one for
Warner
that,
Wolf, he used to say, let's go to the videotape. We can move ahead and Chris will research.
I could be wrong, but I think I'm right on that.
I'm sorry, David, again.
I could be wrong, but I think I'm right on it. There's two different charges.
The Waste Pro is for the roll-off. That's for the 30-yard
What
roll-off.
do we get charged for the?
That gets paid in your tax.
Contract?
Yeah, I think that's part of the property tax. That's typically how Palm Beach does it.
And the
So yeah, we don't have a separate charge.
Yeah, every one of us gets, we pay property tax every year, and it's $200 and something just for garbage.
Yeah, we pay just for garbage, yeah.
So if we're paying $200 and something, can you imagine what Rico's paying? Probably a lot more.
So there's one charge, in other words, the other that David's referring to is in our property tax.
Yeah.
We don't pay property taxes.
If,
Well, that's surprising to me, because when I complained that we swapped the building that we own to the Levy's to have their real estate office, they told me that the condo property is exempt for taxes. Now, maybe the building outside is taxable, but I know I researched it, but if it is, it is.
We pay about $1,600 a year in property taxes.
And that's for all the properties?
Well, I mean, that's for UCO.
Okay.
And most likely, most of that's probably waste product.
Most of that,
How much
Just
is
like
that?
when we pay our
It's
property
about
tax.
$1,600. It's raised over
Nice, bro.
over the years. It's in November that we pay it.
so this is the roll-off charge, is that it?
Correct.
Do we pay that more than once a year?
Yes. We don't pay it every month, but we pay it pretty. Actually, we do pay that every month. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
What do you get, 1 month charge?
Do you know the charge for that roll-off
$370.
a month?
Yes.
Then this is wrong. $270 a month is a lot more money.
I thought so. There's a lot of money we're paying for that.
But it really does fill up in a month's time, but everything is collected from the roadways. That's not regular trash, that's stuff that comes off the palm trees and other types of clippings that are picked up all around on the
Can,
UK property.
can we tell from what we have here what that was for? Because that's obviously not the full amount.
Well, the bill just says charge for 30-yard roll-off.
That's the bill.
Oh.
Yes.
But you're saying we pay a lot more, so it's gotta be someplace else.
No, we pay $370.
But this is $429.
Sometimes it fills up more than once a month.
And also sometimes it doesn't fill up entirely.
Oh, okay.
So the invoices come as needed.
Very good.
So that 429, what does that represent? Nothing.
It has to represent something.
Well, it doesn't, because the roll-off, you just said it's 370 a month.
Yeah, you could see
So
the
what's
check.
Yeah,
429?
January
Nothing.
to August.
It's every time they dump it, there's a fee.
Yeah, we're paying 370 a month for it.
That's not what he said.
That's just for the rental of the unit.
You don't
On the
rent,
container, the rental of the container?
there is no rental.
I don't.
Disposal fee.
Well, he just
Well,
said
we get-
370 a month. Chris.
The number that we have is,
Well, go to the page before. Supposing we table that and we'll get the answer at the next meeting.
Okay, here we go, the first page. That's the estimate. The 429 is the year-end estimate.
Okay, that's true. And how much was the 8 months, which was actual?
It says 286,
You
but I
got
don't
it
know.
on page 1.
Yeah, let's see, let me.
What is that, a 30-yard?
30 yard.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Yeah.
It looks like. I don't know why it's not all showing up on here. It should be.
Let's do this. We'll table that when we get back to the office. We'll find out and bring the answer to that next meeting.
Yeah, well, it looks like there's a new account name, and I don't know if everything was transferred over, but there's not. Oh, you know what it was? There was a credit that they refunded us for something. I'll have to find that check. But in February, they refunded us $824.
Okay, there's
So
our,
that's the cost offset. That's why it's so low.
okay, it's so low, according to Chris, because we got a refund for some reason. Possibly we overpaid, possibly we shouldn't have paid. But the actual expenditure was how much?
The actual expenditure was $1,110.
So we got over $600 for a refund.
We got $824 for a refund.
Oh,
So-
okay, okay, but annualized. Oh.
Correct.
So it sounds like we got most of the money back for some reason.
I'll have to look at that. It'll be in the database, but it's from February, so I'll
Okay,
remember offhand.
good. Quickly moving along, we're on the next page, gate repairs. Now, if I'm not mistaken, mostly all the gate repairs are done by one company, if I'm not mistaken, Access.
Right.
Access does all gate repairs. So wherever I found Access, I believe I put it into gate repairs. And from what I saw, there's many different times that they came in. We don't have another vendor, I guess, so we're using Access. And that really is annualized. So figure it's 1/3 less than actual, and the difference is annualizing it to December 31st.
Ed,
Yeah,
I don't know if we still do, but under my presidency, when somebody broke the gate, we billed them. What do you do with that? Where do you show the income? Do you offset that against the repairs?
I think when I look through the books, and that there was a Love something, was that your guy, who got a payment for damages to his car? I think we have that on a different line, because I think the gate went down on his car. It was
That
Love
was-
something.
That's totally different.
That's
That's
different.
right.
What I'm saying is somebody.
Yes. George,
Sorry.
they do. If somebody hits the gate on, they
Yes.
get a bill. And they
Okay,
pay.
and what do we do with
They want to
that?
see
Where
where's
do
those
we show the income?
receivables.
I don't know.
Right.
Do we offset that income against the expense that we're budgeting, or are we showing
The
that?
answer
as
to your
income?
question, George, it's a good question. I didn't see any credits, but we will look at it right now.
But we used to
Yes,
get at
there
least
is a
one
charge.
month.
There is a charge if you break the gate, and I understand the charge is much greater now that we put in the gate with the
With the light.
green and red light.
Yeah,
I don't know if everybody was informed about that in the village, but I know if you hit the gate, I think it was $35 or $50 or something.
right, and I'm
Yeah.
asking, where do we show that income on?
Good question.
on the budget?
Unfortunately, I've come across that in other items that I was able to pick up, and here's an example. I questioned the charge for $700 for masks, and that came through Amazon, and Donald said to me, well, he bought masks for the whole village, it said to the office for the whole village. When I questioned Chris, who does the actual bookkeeping, he said, no, he's wrong. we got $500 back from WPRF. The reason I didn't see it, because it wasn't booked against the expense. In other words, it was set up as a separate income item. I asked Chris, he won't, he won't do that again, because you have to be very apparent. But actually, we spent only 200, but it's up in the income. And one of the reasons I didn't start with the income is because the income is dependent on our expenses. So I think we have to resolve the expenses before we get to the income. And these two accounts are directly related to the maintenance of the fence, the roads, and the big ticket items.
Let me just continue on that. If you said that we have to have the expenses before we can consider the income, the only item that's going to be dependent on the expenses is what we're going to be billing our unit owners.
That's true.
Nothing to do with breaking the gate arms,
I'll tell you what,
interest, etc.
it's a good question, George.
I'm sorry.
And you know that the less expenses we have, the less we charge back to the residents, changes the ticket item. So basically, if we had no expenses, you would have no income.
Why not? Why not? You're billing the people for the broken gate arm. That's an income item having nothing to do with expenses.
Well, it's in
Okay.
the expenses, and if it's in the budget, it adds to our expense.
But isn't that offset by the payment
Right.
of the,
Yeah, if that is all the case. But right now, it didn't show that way.
The-
Can I say something real quick?
Does it show that way, Chris?
Traditionally, yeah, the gate repairs we do charge them, and it's its own income line item.
It shows an income. So there is an income line.
As of this year, though, surprisingly enough, we haven't had any of that. The repairs for the gate have been new control boards or updates.
All right, but that's legit.
But you are correct, yeah, if somebody breaks the gate arm, they pay for the gate arm.
Yeah.
But do we traditionally book it as a credit against the gate expense? Or
No, we book it as its own income line item.
Well, that's why you only see the gross cost. It really should be offset against the expense, when we have
Exactly.
expenses.
Right.
That's
Well,
that. Okay, the next item
Anticipate.
confused me a little bit too. It said, in the books, you go to Axis half deposit. And it said it was, extended to the year end is 89, 87. When I looked at that, I was looking for the other half of the deposit, and it may have been posted to another account. But what you're looking at is the annualized charge. And I get, that has to be for some gate repair because it's for access. Now, it may not be a repair because I found several expense items that had to do with the major Haverhill project that we did that should have been added into the project expense. Unfortunately, we had change orders, and we actually have, at this moment, an unresolved difference where it appears that we overpaid RKC, is that the one? By $9,000. And that basically is because when you do a construction job, as you know, you book the whole construction job and you pay it on a stage of completion. There were some change orders, one especially that was buried into something else. I was on with the bookkeeper for RKC. The first, a very nice young lady who said, I'm here 6 months, I still haven't straightened out the books. The records here are in terrible shape. So we spent a great deal of time, still haven't been able to reconcile it. She was supposed to send me her records. And she said, oh, I have stuff with footnotes. We don't have them. So that is an open item, and it shows currently as an expense, but when you compare it against the contract plus the change orders, it appears that we overpaid them 9,000 and change.
There's no good video.
Question, wasn't there supposed to be plantings along that fence when, after it was put in?
No,
No?
No.
Okay.
You're getting answers, Fausto.
on the Haverhill entrance, the gate was supposed to try to be reused. It was not part of the original contract. When the job was done, they called the fence company in, Gate Access, and they said the gate could not be reused. They put it up temporarily while a new one was being installed. And I'm assuming that they had to pay a deposit in order to get that done. That's
We're
why
talking
you have
about
a-
this half of the
That's
job.
why it said half, there's a double payment. But that was separate and beyond, had nothing to do with the project of installing the sidewalk or the fence.
Separate.
It was a total separate item.
Totally separate, it wasn't part of the...
No, it wasn't part, no.
Could not be determined whether that was gonna be salvageable or not.
At the time that the contract was made.
Right.
Plus the fact that it really didn't, the general contractor didn't really have any control over that area.
Well, the question was raised and I wasn't involved, but I do recall, and you're saying it wasn't, that when this was presented to the delegates, there was supposed to be foliage along the gate today.
No.
No.
Don't say no. You go back to the videotape, it's we're in the
Go
wall.
back to the contract that they.
I'm not interested. I'm saying when it was presented to the delegate assembly, it did say, if I recall, that there would be foliage against the gate.
It was not part, it was only to put grass there,
Right.
and it was the beautification committee
Right.
that brought up that possibly,
Right.
after everything was all done, that they would do some kind of planting over there, some kind of trees. And it was decided not to spend the money because you just put a fence up.
Right.
Why would you want to cover it up?
Right.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
And I'm still not exactly clear that we give money to WPRF for beautification, and we have our own beautification. The money we're giving them, is that only for their?
That's for the area that they take care of. What we pay is for the major entrances, the east and west gate, and whatever money is being used to on the main perimeter roads.
So what
Two
we're
separate
giving them
things.
is just adjacent
Right.
to this property.
Right.
Then, as an aside, I saw an expense by Donald, and it was for around $32,000 for trees, and it said it's an annual charge. I thought WPRF goes around the village.
No.
Okay.
No.
Everything okay?
The
Everything-
perimeter road, we pay for. The main east and west gates, we pay for. The only thing that WPRF takes care of is the clubhouse
Satellite.
So the guys who are
and
going
the
around,
satellite pools,
the
right?
guys who are going around cutting the trees is our expense.
Right, exactly. Perimeter road and east and west gate is out, a UCO expense.
Now, let me ask you this, since we're on the topic. I think the last charge I saw was $32,000. Shouldn't that have come before the bid committee rather than just being engaged by Donald, or did it?
I have no idea.
Excuse me, the $32,000 you're talking about, is that part of the landscape contract that they do?
I don't know. It
We don't
could be-
understand, we have a contract.
We don't know. We don't know because he has no idea what that $32,000
Well,
was
this
used
is what
for.
I'm saying, and I
There
don't
was
think he understands.
$20,000 used to put up a sign that could have been part of that money.
How much?
What did you spend? 18,000, 20,000?
18,000.
Okay.
That's beautification.
But
That was out of beautification.
But that was part of what money was put in there for landscaping.
No.
Show me on here where it says
I can't
beautification.
go on here. I'm
The
trying
answer
to,
to,
excuse me, I'm trying to tell you, I was in charge of that.
I know that.
That came out of beautification.
I understand that, but I
Not
don't see,
here.
I don't see anything in here that says
Well,
beautification.
I didn't look at that. We're on landscaping. What I'm
We
trying
don't
to
know.
let Ed know is we have a
We're
plate.
having a pooling of all these accounts without actually knowing what's being done.
Yeah, but
You
I-
have to separate the jobs before you can put them on a piece of paper. And
But
we're
what
not doing that.
But
We're
what I'm
doing it
tr-
now.
What I'm trying to say, Fausto, don't we have a contract with Seacrest Landscaping Company? Am I correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, they come in and they take care of landscaping. Now, the other Seacrest that does certain maintenance, certain repairs, that's not a contract.
No.
That's just, they say, Seacrest come over, fix this irrigation. Seacrest come over, take care of this tree. No contract. The only contract we have, and that would sound like close to the amount, is the landscaping. Two different companies.
Yes, you said that, and I questioned Donald on it,
Well,
and he says we have 2 contracts.
no.
Right. Well, yes, in a way we do.
No, do you
Is
have a
it-
written contract only for landscaping?
No, they signed another contract for them to do the other work.
What other stuff?
They have 2 contracts with Seacrest. There's 2 Seacrest management companies
One
that we deal with.
landscaping, one management.
Right.
Okay. We have 2, you're telling me.
Well,
I'd like to see that.
well, we'll get it. But let me ask you a question, Pat. So if we have a contract, why would we get a separate charge?
Because tree trimming doesn't come under that contract.
It's just general. like,
It's-
And
you know,
tree
general
removal and
landscape.
everything
So
Right,
else.
tree
it's
removal
a
stuff.
$30,000 item.
But you don't know, you gotta find out what you're saying with this $32,000. You don't know where it was used for.
If you look at the note.
Do you have an invoice for $32,000, Chris?
Well, I'm sure that, I assume in order for a check to be cut, we have, and it says annual. We can look at it right now. And if it is a separate item, let me ask you a question. If it's a separate item, should that go to the bid committee?
It should, but
Absolutely.
I absolutely don't think it was a separate item. I think it was à la carte to do whatever needs to be
I
done.
have a check for $22,000.
Right.
Seacrest doesn't actually cut the trees. They hire timberlanes.
Some of them, they do trimming, and some of them, they hire an outside vendor to do it.
Once a
Yes.
year, timberlane comes in and
Right.
Right,
Well,
you're right.
I think, I hear what you say, Fausto.
I don't
Well-
think you have an invoice for $32,000. It's a combination of several items that were done, and they're just pooled together in one line.
Well, we'll make a note, I think we have to take a look at it, because if it's a separate contract, I think it should go to the bid committee. Although Dan said, when I questioned him, and you were there, you have to use a general contract. I don't buy that.
General contractor for what?
Yeah, we don't use a general contractor.
Wait a second, if Seacrest hires Timberland,
No.
you're, they're not the primary, they're acting as a general
Excuse me,
contractor.
Ed, in the original contract with Seacrest Landscaping, they do the trees once only. If we want to have it done another time, then we have to hire someone. And he's already done Duffy
But
and,
they go back, it goes out to bid, the person that
Right.
gives us the best price gets to
but
do
the
the job.
contract only gives you one cutting per year
Right,
on the trees.
Now, when it goes out to bid, does it go to the bid committee?
it usually goes to the bid committee.
Usually.
Usually,
Well, the reason why I say that, because if there's a hurricane coming and we got a week's notice, and the palm trees, he calls them in on an emergency basis to trim off the excess before the bad weather comes. Otherwise, it's on the schedule every 6 months. More
for
or less.
emergency, we probably pay a different rate for emergencies, same rate.
You need invoices so that you know what you're talking about.
The other item just was posted separately, and I believe that the door to the, an automatic door was put in the office, is about $890.
Well,
Yeah, that was
good.
2018 that the doors were put in.
So this says office door.
That's for the maintenance if they break.
That was for what?
That's for maintenance.
Yeah.
If the door breaks or malfunctions,
Oh,
they have to call in.
that's a repair.
Correct.
That's for 2 different doors.
It's actually three. You've got the front door, the middle door, and the bathroom door. That all went to automatic doors.
Three automatic.
Three automatic doors.
Yeah, I think that was.
And that was done a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
2018,
Yeah.
late 2018.
So that's a repair now. This may be what I was talking about. It says damage repairs, $1,131. If I'm not mistaken, it was paid to someone by the name of Love something. And when we looked at, just check that, when we looked in the database, we couldn't find it. That was with Donald. And when he checked it out, he said that was during Ed Black's time and he never put it in the database.
We did have an issue when, after the main gates that were put up temporarily swung and the wind hit a car and knocked off the mirror and did some damage to the car. And not to no fault of the driver, and I believe we paid for the car's repair. If I'm not mistaken, right, Chris?
Yeah.
But
she
these
took it to
are
the
two
Honda
separate
dealership.
items, aren't they?
No, it's one check for $754.
And what about the 377, Chris?
That's just the breakdown of what 1/4 of that would cost. So it's actually
So it was
something.
1131 then?
No. It was only $754. That other number is, it's nothing.
But it's $377.
Right, but it shouldn't be there.
Oh, it shouldn't be there.
That was it was an act of
I know,
God.
I know that.
It was
Yeah.
an act of God.
But
It
you look
shouldn't
at
even
this,
be there.
it shows two things.
Yeah, so the actual cost was $754, and that
So
was
it
just a
shouldn't be
one-time.
no
Well,
377.
let me say this, if this repair is a non-recurring item, then it shouldn't be carried forward as a separate item.
Exactly.
It's an extra.
That's
It
right.
should be
Act of God.
eliminated.
It's an act of God.
Well, I'm saying it's not something that you're gonna have to pay every quarter. It should not carry.
It shouldn't be in there.
For next year.
Right.
So, and the other one should also be eliminated, right, if it's a one-time item?
Yeah, same thing.
The one that was also a repair or something.
You're talking about gate repairs?
You're talking the 1131 now, right?
Yes.
Should be only 754.
Well,
Should be
whatever.
nothing.
It's
Why
gonna
put
be
it in the
zero.
budget?
Should be
It
zero.
doesn't, it should be zero
It's
for
gonna
next
be
year.
zero, Barbara, because
Okay.
it's not a recurring item.
Exactly.
The next one was listed as a downspout repair. I assume that would be on our building, but you should never assume.
Yeah, on any
Was it in the
Yucca property.
guardhouse or
Could be the guardhouse. Could be
Yeah.
the
A
lawn.
guardhouse.
No, they don't, the bill should tell you what it's for, what you're
something? Again,
doing.
without the
Yeah, those
invoices,
two
you
are-
don't
That's what
know.
I mean.
But I remember that we did have an issue where a truck or somebody hit the
It was in the
guardhouse, the gutters,
yeah, right on
and we
Oak
had to
Road.
have it repaired.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
Goodman Foods or something.
That's
that
it,
did
yeah.
that. And they never paid. We did invoice them and told them that,
Right.
And no
They
one
never got-
pursued it, is that
I
it?
mean, you can only pursue it so much. I can go over there with a bat if you want me to.
Excuse me?
I said I can go over there with a bat if you want me to and get our money, but.
No, you call Philly the knee breaker in Brooklyn, it will be collected.
Normally, if we have an accident where somebody knocks down bushes or a car does it, we do follow up and get an insurance claim and try to get the insurance
Right.
to pay for it. In this particular instance, I did not know we did not have an insurance claim. And since I make a lot of those calls, I know that they do happen.
Yeah, I think the only way we got that, they hit it and kept going. And it was like camera footage. And if I might be incorrect, but I think they got banned from the village for that.
Did we get any reimbursement? The fact that he had no insurance doesn't?
I have no idea.
Yeah, but this was for something else. This was for the 1535. It's to saw cut a concrete slab, build a new slab framing, and install one downspout.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Oh,
at the
that's-
guardhouse though, right?
Yeah,
That was at the Okeechobee entrance.
yes.
It was to bury the downspout so they don't get flooded, right?
So that was a one-time thing also.
It was a one-time thing.
Eliminated trip hazard.
The next item, while it was called a transfer switch and it was annualized, was really $17,000. And it's not a transfer switch according to Donald.
It's a
It was
generator.
part of the Haverhill and it was for a generator.
Right.
So if that's not a non-recurring, if that is a non-recurring item, although he says he replaces a generator a year or something like
Well,
that.
No.
we did one guardhouse one year, and then the second guardhouse was done, one was done in 2019 and one was done in 2020. That's
So-
not a reoccurring item.
No.
So that 25.5 has to come out
Absolutely.
Yeah.
zero.
Zero.
I think the next is, it's not a great item, $278 we paid for bee removal.
That's an ongoing thing. Every time it comes out, it's gotta be taken care
Well,
of.
so then we should leave it in. It's
There
not-
should be money allocated for that.
Well, it is, unless we take it out now. In other words,
I wouldn't take it out.
no, I'm not saying it should be, and maybe we'll just round it out to $300 to bring it forward.
They've been to my building twice, just this past year.
Now, you say it came to your building, is it the association?
No,
No, no, don't
It's-
get confused,
It's
no.
next to my building, all right, because I live near the fire station. Twice we've had bees on Yuko property.
Where they built a nest
Where
in
they
the
had-
tree.
No, it should go property.
Okay, so I'm gonna, just for convenience sake, take the 278, put it in for $300. It's only an estimate, it's not gonna throw us off. Taking off 25,500 is something. Electrical repairs, that's general. I think it's one guy we use all the time,
No,
Sorry.
no.
and that is really annualized.
Excuse me, electrical repairs,
Go ahead.
what does that consist of?
It-
For the clubhouse, for the
No.
guardhouse, for what?
I believe they had to upgrade one of the panels at the, one of the guardhouses,
Mhm.
and they, right, if I'm not mistaken?
So that's what this is for?
Again, I don't know. I know we had to do electrical panel upgrades. I know that we had to dig a trench to go to the sign. Again, without seeing the bills,
We don't
you're
know.
guessing.
We don't
You're-
know.
You're guessing.
Yeah,
Well-
there's emergency. It looks like it's mainly emergency repairs that we paid this company for. The Chatham pump repair, there was an emergency repair. There were power fluctuations that choked
So
our
then you
house.
just said the pump,
It was, yeah, that one was for the
so
pump.
this is very generalized then, this
Right,
electrical
it's all over the
repairs.
place.
Well, I agree, but the problem is it wasn't shown all together before, and I didn't have invoices in front of me. What I did do is on the check that's prepared, there's a notation, and I took off the notation. Very frankly, I didn't go to every invoice, this is post facto, and the object of this exercise is in the future, when it's entered, is the time that it has to be posted correctly. Now, generally speaking, and it isn't here because we don't set it up this way, when a bill comes in, it gets coded, so that when it goes to bookkeeping, whoever does the coding posts it to the correct response.
Right, but Chris just said, how many things were in that?
Just that one invoice had 3 different items on it.
Three
one of
different
them-
items pertaining to
One
what?
of them was
Chris?
the COVID-19 testing sites.
Oh, that's an additional.
Now, see, that's another thing. I would never think of that electrical repairs, COVID-19.
Well, the whole COVID-19, where we paid, and this is my personal opinion, is we had an outfit that came in, they get paid for the job.
I'm talking about on the electrical repairs.
It makes no difference. And we paid for repairing the parking lot in the temple. That's for COVID-19.
But this
Object-
doesn't say that. This
Well,
says
I didn't know
electrical repairs. If I had picked this up, I would think something electrical had to be fixed.
Well, it probably was done, right? They had to set up something electrical.
No, that's not what that's for.
Can I ask a question? When a receipt comes in, an invoice, a bill, is that put, after it gets paid, is that put in a certain place where people could
Yeah.
look at it without having to go to 53,000 different places?
It's put in Z drive.
Is that what
Well,
happens now?
the answer is, and I said it before, post facto is a problem. We have to revamp a lot of that. it's the first place I've seen in many years that when mail is received, it's not stamped as received. Then it's routed. I see a lot of approval done by Donald. I haven't been in to do approvals, not begging the issue. So if whoever goes to look at it and put an initial on it and say paid it, the proper thing is it gets coded to an account, and then when the check is cut or the remittance is made, it goes to the account. Because that just makes the bookkeeping faster and more accurate. And that's normal. It's not being done here. In fact, if I had not broken this up, all you would see normally is repairs and maintenance. And that's the reason for doing what we're doing. It's time consuming, but the idea is not only going forward for the next budget, but going forward the way we operate on a day-to-day basis, we wouldn't have to go through this. The fact that it's in a Z drive, again, it's post facto. It has to be done before it goes into the Z drive, before it gets cut as a check.
We also have to be able to go back at any time and check these invoices after they were paid or whatever.
That's
So
true.
We need to have that ability to do that.
Well, the answer is, it's yes and no, is my opinion. Just about everything goes into the database. I'm from the old school. Database is good. But I was weaned with that you have a paid bill that goes into a file. Each year is filed separately, and if you wanted to see XYZ Corporation, you went into the file, you were able to look at every invoice that was paid.
Yeah, you want to be able to check
Now-
that invoice
now-
against the work that was done.
Now that's done sometimes and not times, and a lot of the filing that is being done by Chris. In fact, the scanning into the database is being done by Chris because we have a limited system and it hasn't been changed. And it does need a change, as does a lot of things. Because pennies become dollars, dollars become thousands. And Fausto and Donald has been here a long time when he says, I don't know about it, because basically he's telling you his general knowledge, it's not really his assignment, unless someone said, Fausto, you check all the bills. I mean, we're small, but we're really not set up the way we should be set up. And you can't change it overnight. I've asked for volunteers. I have 2 volunteers so far. But we really could do more, because what we could do is if we had a few volunteers, we could pull out everything and not take forever, take 1 year and have a project just go through every bill and recheck it. Right now, you'd have trouble getting people to come in. But the
Well, as long as the president doesn't stop them from coming in.
okay, let's move ahead.
Can I just say something?
So let's go back to this electrical, let's go back to the electrical repairs.
I also have a question.
Sure.
I have a question. Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, why didn't we forget what happened in the past and start with your system as of April 1st? We would have 6 or 7 months of current data the way that we could look at it, instead of going back to see what was done, what wasn't done. You could go on your own and we would have better accurate numbers of what we've spent over the last 6 months.
I agree, but what I did on the interim basis, our function now is to bring forward a new budget.
Right.
And I think to bring forward a budget, like we just found 25,000, that should be brought forward, I've taken the effort myself to go through what I can go through. Now, if they fix my database, I could do more. Okay, we this is going into September. So we have to finish this budget before August 31st. And I'd be loath to bring forward $50,000 or $100,000 worth of items that shouldn't be brought forward just because we are shortcutting it. I'd rather put in the time.
Okay.
And I could use all the help I get. Guys like you know a lot more than me just sitting there and guessing. So I'm willing to take all the help I can get. I'm not prejudiced. I even put my wife to work and she didn't like it. So we're back to electrical repairs. Is that something you think we should bring forward?
What was the electrical repair? I couldn't hear what it was for.
Speak
Well,
out loud,
I don't
please.
know.
That's the problem.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
no.
for, it's typically for, this is all from TSI, which is the company, and they're normally emergency repairs. And other random things, spotlight installs, generator tests. There's a COVID-19 testing site charge on there, power fluctuations at the for the guardhouse. So it's really kind of a hodgepodge of things in this
Hodgepodge,
account.
right.
Well, how much, if you could just tell me one item, the COVID, anything to do with COVID-19? In other words, if you had $8,000 worth of repairs and $7,000 was COVID, I would say we don't bring forward the $7,000 unless we're willing to do that again for nothing.
That's true. It's it was $1,761 for the COVID thing.
So basically, $2,000 should be taken off and bring forward like 6. Now, it's small, but as I said yesterday, you know, WPRF for a half an hour for $2,000 for moving the library. So that would be 6,000. Next one is small air conditioning repair.
Now, before you go on, can I interrupt? I'd like you to go to a completely different thing right now and set up your dates for your next few meetings.
Yeah, that's on the agenda.
Okay, I'd like you to jump up to that
This
right
is
now
how we do it.
because I'd like to get it on my calendar.
Oh, okay.
We've been here an hour and a half already and
That's
we
fine.
haven't done too much.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know what everybody's availability is, but I would say we're going through the hard part. We will have, in my opinion, no less than 3 more meetings to finish this budget.
Okay, can I make suggestions?
Sure, you can make any suggestion you
Dates
want.
and times. We're probably not gonna have executive board. So we can do this Friday, all right? At 10
This
o'clock.
Friday?
This Friday?
Uh,
Don't we have a millennium?
That's right.
Yeah, we have a millennium.
Well,
we do?
Yeah.
That's not even on my schedule.
let
Well,
me,
Wednesday, why don't you stick to a day?
Wait, hold it,
like a
hold it.
Wednesday?
I'd like, you know, that as many people as possible could come, and we have a lot of meetings, I noticed. Who says we have to have a meeting between 8 and
You can
12?
have it whenever you want.
I think you have a lot more latitude is if you have it after 12,
Okay,
because
next-
most of the meetings are in the morning.
Next Monday's completely open.
Thank you.
And you have
I've
some
been doing that
holidays
for
coming up.
2 years.
I think the
Have the
afternoon is
meetings
better.
in the afternoon.
I think the afternoon is better too.
October 7th? Bob?
Today's the
Michael,
23rd.
please call me back. And then the
So
meeting.
next week, which is the 30th,
Is that gonna be enough time for him to go through all this?
What, the 30th?
Yeah.
Is
So
that-
we
want the
today.
seventh.
it gives you a week.
It's a week from today.
Well, it depends how far we go today.
Okay,
Well,
I mean,
We didn't finish repairs
I
and
don't think we're
maintenance.
gonna get
25
too
to
far.
12, no.
that's the first day I have opening other than last.
When you say, I'm saying we should look at something after 12.
Yes, in the
Yeah, so
afternoon,
look at
absolutely.
something.
Afternoon will give us a greater choice.
You go
I've
Wednesday after
been,
12.
since I've been here, I've gone to a meeting on Saturday here. People said you want to go. As I said, we're going through the toughest part now. When we get a good portion of our budget, no matter what we're gonna do, we can't change. You're locked in with contracts for $1 million here, $500,000 there. It's the variables that we can look at.
And,
Yeah.
excuse me, but do you have a list of the contracts and when they come due? So we know is any contract coming due the end of this year? So you can figure out, because you get a new contract, you might have an increase.
The answer is, I don't have a list, I have contracts. They're not scheduled yet, and they don't have a beginning, a renewal, and a,
You don't have a list of all the contracts?
no, we just found out I have a contract that I never saw.
Well, can't you get that from Donald?
Donald has given me a lot of paperwork, but as you just saw, the question is, what is a contract? Donald told me he's got more than 2 contracts with Seacrest. He has a contract for this, a contract for that. I said, where are the contracts? No, it's not really a contract, that's
We
what
got,
we
there
do.
was only one contract that the bids did, and that was with Seacrest Landscaping, with
I-
Terrazzo.
My honest feeling is that you need to take a half a dozen people
Right.
and work, get whatever things you want to do and consolidate before we sit here for another hour and a half wasting, not getting able to get answers.
Well, I think we're not wasting it, it's pointed something to us. This information was not available to me, wasn't available to anybody, and had I not said, okay, we're gonna go with repairs and maintenance, one number, we would have been done 4 hours ago.
But Ed,
I'm willing to do it.
you just asked Chris, and Chris was able to pull up the invoices right now in front of you.
No, it's not in front of me, it's on the computer. Now, let me tell you something.
Okay,
I'll be willing to sit with 12 people.
I'm sorry.
I'd be willing to sit with, I've asked for volunteers before. It could be, if you want to come in and I'll.
This isn't a volunteer. This is gathering the information and putting the numbers down that make sense. And you haven't done that. You've got numbers that.
I take great exception to that, Fausto. Had I
Okay.
not done what I did, you
Okay.
wouldn't be sitting here today.
I
Okay.
have a question, Ed. If he didn't bring them up on the computer, he could print them out, can't he?
Excuse?
And he can give them to you, can't he?
What he's pulling up is a check.
Oh.
And on the check, it's a notation. It's not a bill. I know what a bill looks like. A bill is a bill, not, these are notations.
Can he pull up the invoices for you?
He could do a lot of things. Who's
Yeah, he
gonna?
just said he.
I just got criticized, no check was cut during this week.
Oh, I'm not.
Okay, there is a limited time that Chris has, he's not an employee, he's an independent, he has other accounts. Okay, I've tried to bring in more people, I've got another person now. I'll sit with 8 people. But to say I didn't do it, I just don't accept it. You would not be here now, Fausto. You're very, very quick. I only want 10 minutes for anybody to talk. You haven't had one other treasurer before who tried to do this. I agree, I need a lot of help. You could help it faster than looking at the bill, you know it.
That's okay.
Okay, let's move on.
I'll do my job.
If you want to break at 12, I'm willing to do it. I learned one other thing at the meeting yesterday. We're not serving lunch here. And I just found it out, so in lieu of it, I figured if we worked the dinner, we would go to the Okeechobee Steakhouse.
At Hugo's expense.
Of course, no, WPRF's.
That's fine.
I'm only kidding.
All right, so do we set the next date already? We started working on the next date.
I'm still waiting on somebody to tell me a date.
The next meeting.
What's now with next Wednesday?
I got Wednesday open all day.
That our treasurer.
You wanna do an
decides.
8-hour shift? Provide lunch.
That's the 30th?
Ed,
Well,
I
I'm
won't be
just
here in the
checking
afternoon.
that I don't have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon.
I'm gonna be away.
You're gonna be away.
Yeah, Ruth, do we have anything for next Wednesday? But usually in the morning.
I have to make
Okay,
my
that's
original arrangements,
I thank you.
my shopping
Ah,
arrangements.
very good. Wednesday's good for me, anytime.
okay, why don't you start at 9 o'clock, because you obviously have
I'll start at 8, I was up at 5 this
from
morning.
9.
Well, it's good with everybody, it's good with me.
How's that?
That's
That'll
good.
give you 3 hours.
God, make it
So
start at
Wednesday,
1 o'clock
9
in the
to
afternoon.
12.
Right. Or you wanna start at 1 in the afternoon?
I can't make the
None
afternoon.
yet.
He won't be here
Let's
at
take
all.
what do you call it? A census.
I
Who
can
can
only
make
do
it, who
one.
can't?
I
Who
only
cannot make it next Wednesday morning? That's
do
two.
it.
Everybody else on the committee can make it? So that only leaves David as the only other officer who's come to this meeting. Maybe Donald could come to the next meeting. He's
You
got
have
enough in
nobody in
advance.
investigations on Wednesday, that's why he needs to be there. Otherwise, you're shutting down investigation.
I'm not shutting anything down. He said it's open.
What I'm saying to you, that on Wednesday, Donald has no one in investigations. That's why he's there if people are dropping off paperwork. So
Can't
if you have
someone
it in the
else
morning, he's not gonna be here.
Can't someone else
He
handle
doesn't
this?
have anybody else to do it on Wednesday.
They have no volunteers.
I wonder why.
All I'll say is this. We
just
have,
set the date
everybody
and
can
whoever
make it
gets
next
here.
Right,
Wednesday.
whoever's
except-
gonna come is gonna come, do your dates.
Hold
If they
it.
can come, they
If
can.
anybody, we only have 2 of us here that
What-
can't make next
What
Wednesday.
time do you want to start?
I'll start at 9.
9 o'clock.
And that's the 30th, right?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
It's September 30th, right?
That's correct. And you want to keep going till what time?
We can go past lunch, we'll provide lunch. Barbara's gonna cook.
No, I won't be here.
She won't be here.
You can't come in the morning?
I will come in the morning.
All right, we'll continue
Till
whatever.
11 o'clock.
Till 11 o'clock?
You'll be able to get it done.
You get
No, I have to get, because I have to make arrangements for things that I need too. You know, no one's
Figure-
doing my shopping for me.
Okay, I got it down.
Put it for 9 to 1. You got
9 to 1.
4 hours, right? 3, 4.
Got it.
And we have some time to get some more information.
Okay, so that's September 30th. Do you want to
Okay.
schedule anything beyond that?
Now,
Let's see
Hold on,
how we
hold on.
accomplish as of September
Well, wait
5th.
a minute, he's,
I would like you to have at least a couple days. You're saying you need a few days?
Excuse me?
You said you need a few days, so I'd like to get a couple on the schedule.
Okay, so
Since
then-
How about the
delegates,
following Wednesday?
since delegate assembly is not happening that Friday,
that's the 7th.
you have that open.
Wait a second. How is the
9
next
to 12.
Wednesday?
The 7th, he's saying. It's a Wednesday.
Pearl Harbor.
Oh, are you planning on having programs and services this month?
No, it's being canceled.
Okay, so that's canceled. That leaves Wednesday open.
It's okay with me.
Same time? 9 to-
Same time,
9
same
to 1?
station.
So it's October 7th then?
Yep, that too.
And next week.
Wait, what,
Yeah, I have the 30th. I'm
what,
into
what is the
October
date on
now.
that?
October 7th,
October 7th, okay.
From 9 to 12?
9 to 1.
9 to 1.
We'll see how far we get. As I say, we're working through the tough part.
Just letting you know, October 2nd is
Yeah.
also
No,
open
October
because
2nd.
we are not having delegates.
That's a Friday.
October 2nd?
Friday.
Well, we're
Yeah,
going
9
on the
o'clock.
30th, so how are you gonna go 2 days later? You
No,
won't
you
have
gotta
any-
have time to do something.
Gotta have time in between it for him to do this.
When is Yom Kippur?
I don't know. off the top
Next
of my head.
Monday.
No, it's this coming.
It's this week. It's
Yeah, it's
Well, this is the end of September.
Yom Kippur begins Sunday,
Monday.
Sunday.
Right, and ends
It's Sunday,
Monday
Monday,
night.
Monday night to Monday night.
Okay.
Yeah, that's out of the question.
Then you gotta worry about supplies.
Oh, God, it's freezing in here.
So right now we have the 30th, then we have the 7th,
Right,
Right.
George.
all right?
Is that, that's what we have, right?
Yeah. we have 2
I
meetings
suggest we
scheduled.
don't book anything further until see how far we go.
Okay.
Can we finish this first page of these?
Excuse, I'm willing to finish
Yeah,
this.
What about air conditioning repair? What is that for? UCO?
I
For
don't
the
know.
building, or it's certainly not nothing to do with this building?
One of the units went down 2 weeks ago and we had to pay for having repair and it's gonna need to be replaced.
What
Better-
unit?
For the Yuko building, one of the units, that's the original unit,
You mean the
The
generator?
original?
No, no,
Air
the AC
conditioning.
unit.
Okay.
one of the compressors, one of the lines broke and we were told we're gonna need a new air conditioning unit. It was a temporary repair and he's getting prices on getting a new one.
Okay.
So you better find out from Donald, because that's gonna need to be put in the budget.
I will talk to Donald on it.
And one of those is
Why don't
actually
you John Joe?
an AC repair for the guardhouses,
Yeah,
both of them.
That's individual units, I
Yeah,
guess.
and,
That's before they got the generators?
no, this was,
Generators don't have anything to
Do
do with
it.
that.
This
Oh,
was-
air conditioning.
yeah,
I think they replaced one of the air conditioning units, right? Didn't replace both of
That's
them?
what I thought they did.
I think they replaced both of them because they're just
Yeah.
small units.
Right, right.
So it's UCO and the clubhouses?
No, you go in the guardhouses.
the guardhouses.
Okay.
Yeah, the clubhouse is all done.
No, I'm sorry, I meant to say,
That's okay.
I can tell you this, on the next item, $2,460. It wasn't a ceiling tile repair. It was a capital improvement.
For what?
Could you look at that? Donald told me that was a capital improvement.
It was. I remember them doing that. Let me pull that up real quick just so I have exactly what it was. In the conference room in the office, there was a screen, or not a screen, there was a mount.
Bracket and stuff hanging from the roof.
Yeah, there was, remember all that stuff that was hanging from the
Yeah.
ceiling? They took all that out, replaced the ceiling tiles, but in doing that, they had to redo the grid. So that was part of the repair. And then,
$36.90.
and then another part was they redid some of the door weather stripping, like the exterior door weather strippings.
So it's not just the conference room, it's other stuff.
Exactly, and there's decorative panels for the frames. The frames that were on the walls of all the prior officers, they redid that as well.
Occasionally you'll have.
So that really is maintenance, right? But you'll always have some
it's
maintenance.
repairs,
if you-
maintenance,
Of course.
something,
It's not
Yeah,
something we
that's
can account
maintenance.
for, unfortunately.
Occasionally you have a sprinkler that leaks, and you have to replace the ceiling
Right.
tiles. That would be, I would think that would be maintenance.
That-
I would
that-
say you're right.
That's definitely maintenance.
But if you're only using that amount for air conditioning repair, I hate to go back there, I think you're way too
No,
low.
we're off the air conditioning repair.
No, but that's very low.
I think that's too low.
Which is too low?
Air
Your air
conditioning repair.
conditioning repair.
Let's go back up.
Honestly, it might not be a bad idea to put air conditioning under a reserve item, since it's a major expense.
Well, the question is, if you're having all these repairs, these are small air conditioners, maybe they should be replaced.
Well, the office air
I'm not
conditioners are large.
arguing that, but I'm saying if you're gonna have that, if you're gonna put that title in, that column in there, air conditioning repair, that's gonna be too low.
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
I would easily say $3,000 to repair.
and you can get a new one for $3,000.
No,
I'm
no,
talking about.
No, this is a big air conditioner, right?
Big one?
Yeah.
We have no service contract on that kind of
Yes,
thing?
you
But
do.
how old is it? How old's the air
You
conditioner?
do have a service contract, right? With the same place that has the service contract here. Air temp is it or something, or
It's
whatever?
Airco.
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 Airco. Yeah, we have a contract, of course, but you have to read what it covers.
That's right, and I'll go let
Another contract.
Yeah. And until you get all the contracts, you're not gonna get this right. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll do the best we can.
I still say, that's too low. It's gonna be, it should
Yeah.
How old
be
is it?
several
I mean,
thousand
there's a lot
dollars.
of issues.
All right, so
And the problem with the air conditioners in the guardhouses is because of the doors
Right.
being open, confined space. It's just a continual draw.
So is 3,000 enough for all these air conditioners?
If you're just putting for repair, I'm not talking about replacement.
Well, replacement is a different thing, right?
You know,
That has to be assessed whether it pays to replace them rather than
They
repair
do
them.
Depends
replace
on
them.
the, it depends on the age, of course.
I would say a minimum of $2,500 to $3,000 for repair.
Okay.
As far as I know, both guardhouses have new air conditioning
That's right.
units within the last couple of years, and they both have generators.
Right.
Now, we had an air conditioning issue at UCO office 2 weeks ago, and the temperature was 78 degrees, and he called in and they found a leak, and they told him they were gonna fix it, but we're gonna need a new air conditioning unit. So ask Donald if you got a quote,
I'm asking
because
for
that
the
needs to be
contract.
put in the 21 budget.
We will ask for the contract and see if he has on his agenda to get new air conditioners. I mean, if we have old air conditioners in your
No, they're
floor.
not old.
One was replaced, and one is from when they put the building up. That's what he told me. I don't know that for a fact, but that's what he told me.
Who, Donald?
Donald, yes.
I don't know. That's one of the reasons we should have an inventory of everything we own, because you can see when you bought it and whatever. It's a big job. But I will agree with David that rather than undercut it, put in $3,000 just for air conditioning repairs.
I think you would be safe.
thought you were taking out 690, because you have 3690. You're gonna switch it to 3,000.
Excuse me?
You're switching it to 3,000?
Yes. All right, everybody is getting antsy. We're down to
Plumbing,
plumbing repairs.
what's that, toilet? Things, blockages or?
That includes the guardhouses, UCO, the Plymouth Laundry might be underneath that.
Well, that's
The laundry would be under laundry repairs.
Okay,
But this one is for the guardhouse, it's mainly for the guardhouses to clear stock toilets and mainline stoppages. Yeah, actually,
Sinks, I guess?
it is all at the guardhouses.
It appears to me that guardhouse repairs should be a separate item because they seem to take the most abuse in everything we're talking about. It's guardhouses.
Some of the
they're
laundry.
being used 24 hours a day, so.
I'm not saying they shouldn't be, I'm just saying, laundry is laundry. But the guardhouses, they're 24/7, they're exposed, and it's really like a little building. The guys are staying there, they gotta go to the bathroom, they don't have a kitchen. I'm willing to stay, but people seem to be antsy. Do you
I have
want
to get home because somebody's.
No one was aware of it. Figure out more time next week, and we'll see if we can move along faster. Fausto said he's gonna work with me 24/7. We can go through this in no time. I thank everybody for coming.
Okay, just so everybody knows, Friday, the Millennium Agreement meeting has been canceled.
Excuse me?
Millennium Agreement meeting has been canceled Friday.
Cancel?
Yeah, I just got.
What's been canceled?
The Millennium Agreement.
I hope they cancel it. That would be a miracle.
That's with WPRF, am I correct?
That's with Lee.
Right. So are we going to have one with just UCO Millennium?
Why can't we use that?
That's the Yukon meeting.
No. You don't- That's the meeting with
I would
WPRF
suggest,
and
if you
UCO,
don't
right?
mind, to hold on to what you've
At the
already
request
got.
of Mr. Levy,
I don't
I
feel
forget
like
about
I'm
that.
putting it
Yes,
off.
I understand that. Because they don't have the numbers we want, that's all.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, why doesn't UCO take that time and just have the Millennium people meet with them? Do you know what I mean, Bob? Does David know that? I guess.
beyond my pay grade.
I don't care if they never get the Millennium, if they're gonna pay through the nose.
You don't wanna hold on to that?
Shut the camera off, Bob.
Oh! You're killing me, Smalls.